and welcome to today's Just Chopsing Podcast. And today we're with Luke Griffths from the Falseheads. The Falseheads are a three-piece. How would you describe yourself, Luke?
We had a couple over the years. I think crack rock, punk rock was one of them we had for a while. Or hardcore indie, I think, was another one that got used. So either of them will do.
Yeah. I was listening to your album. It's quite punky and it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit dark. Do you know what was the fucking kid we had on last week or the week before? Tom Lumley.
Oh yeah, we've met him a couple of times down the line. Yeah, he was in the same kind of scene as us.
Yeah. Yours is a little bit darker, I think.
Yeah, I think the lyrics and the tone of a lot of the songs are quite dark. Just because it's just the nature of the way that I write, really. I find it hard to write when I'm not like livid or something. So.
All right. Okay. So when were you formed?
We formed about 5 years ago, maybe 5.5 now. So obviously, like, fucking year of COVID included, but yeah. But the name Falseheads, I've had that for years, like since I was like 16. But I just couldn't ever get a band together, so I was just always like putting stuff out online under that name.
Okay.
And then finally, I came back from uni, and Jake and Barney, who I went to school with, made the band, and we just sort of took it seriously, and it sort of went from there, really.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sitting in front of David on my fucking poster today because he hasn't turned up again. So I don't know if you think that's a bit narcissistic of me because you can only see my other face. My other face, but I got two faces. That's not for people listening on Spotify, by the way. So you met Jake and Barney in school. Was that like in? I mean, I don't know what you call it anymore. I mean, when I went to school, it was called comprehensive school, but
yeah, secondary school or high school, or whatever.
Yeah.
People call it. Yeah, so like we met there, and Jake and Barney were in a band together at the time. Then we all went to uni, and we came back, and it just sort of went that way. Like me and Jake were always like, he's probably like my best mate on the planet, so we were always still in touch. And then we were all friends at school. I did like drama with Barney, and then we came back, and yeah, it just sort of went from there. But yeah, just one of them.
All right, cool.
It's not like
Yeah. But you released an album in 2020 called "It's All There But You're Dreaming." Is that right?
Yeah. We released it on the Friday, and then on the Monday, the whole of the UK was in lockdown. We were meant to go to America, South by Southwest, and play South by Southwest and New York. That was fucking the went, obviously.
Yeah.
But I sort of thought like, we'll put it out there and just see what happens, and sort of just grew our fan base from it in lockdown, really. So it was a good thing that we did it. But yeah, it was just kind of the culmination of the last 5 years of some old songs that we reworked and some brand new ones. And that was it, really. Just sort of like a audio sort of diary of the last 5 years that we've been a band together, I suppose.
Ah, right. Because you released 2 EPs. Are those EPs incorporated in the album then?
Yeah, there was some songs off the EP that went on the album. It was kind of one of them things now because the music industry's so changed, so different. You know, it's hard. I know a lot of bands get flack for it, kind of putting out older songs that they've already put out on their album, but it's difficult now because you don't get signed and then get given like $100,000 to fucking put up your nose and do whatever. So you kind of have to build that up before you're in a position where you can release the album. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of like a unwritten rule now where you kind of like put out your strongest songs at the time, and then if they're still strong, you kind of put them out again on the album. So it's a bit of a shame that it's like that. But having said that, the new album that we've just finished recording, it's got all brand new songs on it. So, you know, that no one's really ever heard any of them before. So that's kind of the trade-off of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Because you've got a pretty big tour coming up. I mean, is that to promote that album or?
Well, it's going to be a weird one because it will be that. It will be to promote the first album, because we just haven't had a chance to fucking do it yet. So
yeah,
we'll play kind of like the most popular or whatever you want to call it songs off the album, like Rabbit Hole and stuff, and then we'll play some new ones as well. I think we'll play 5. It's probably about a 45 minute to an hour set, so we'll probably play like 5 or 6 brand new ones. See how they get on as well. But it'll be predominantly the first album, yeah.
Oh, right, okay, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, yeah, you haven't had the chance to be out on the road for what, 2 years almost.
I know. It's like it's just. I mean, it's been the same fucking everyone. So like, I know. I don't want to sit here and moan too much because I know there's been people that had it a lot worse. But yeah, it was just sort of like we'd built up for 5 years working loads of shit jobs and stuff to try and make it happen, and then it was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. So we took a bit of time out. Well, we were forced to anyway. I went on the dole. That was fun. And then our manager, at that point, we were kind of like, is this even fucking worth it? And then our manager just was like, look, chill out for a bit. And then we got back into the rehearsal studio and just started writing. And obviously, we're just glad that we decided to keep at it. So
Yeah.
But it was a long time. It felt like a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time for everybody. But now I think the world and his wife is out on tour at the moment. So
yeah, no, exactly. I suppose
everybody's like, as soon as the restrictions are lifted, everybody's got injected with the vaccination. It's like, get out there quick.
Exactly that, yeah. So.
But yeah. So who's your manager then? Are you managed? Are you managed by Danny Fields, or
no? Danny
somewhere that he mentored you, or he was mentoring you, or
yeah, he's mentored us over the years. He saw us in a little venue in Camden. There's probably about 10 people, if that, including the band at the gig. And then he was there, and there was a friend, someone who worked on Soho Radio, was interviewing him and said, "Oh, you'll like this band." And he came and saw us, and then from there, he sort of guided us through. I mean, we've had fucking some shit stuff in the industry. We signed to the record label far too early on. And we was literally fresh out of uni. We'd just kind of been a band seriously for about 4 months, and we signed to this record label. That was a shit show. And then we had a manager, and so he was kind of guiding us through that. And he did pull some strings, but he'd been out of the game for like 20 years. But obviously he's fucking Danny Fields, so
yeah,
it was pretty. It's been great. And he hooked us up with like Iggy Pop and stuff, who's been supportive of us over the years. And so we're managed by someone else now called Rich Chamberlain, who's a great manager. But yeah, he's always there, kind of always go to for advice, and he pulls some strings occasionally if I ask him to.
Right, okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's nice to have somebody watching over your shoulder, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, and he's always been like that, and we owe him a lot. And he's just, he'd just be sitting there, and normally I can sort of like hold court in like most conversations or put an anecdote, but then just like tell you a story about how he fucking went to coffee with Leonard Cohen and got fucked up with Jim Morrison. So it's sort of like, oh, fair enough, I'll just shut up then. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, yeah, I bet he's got some cool stories to tell. Where does he live then? He doesn't live in London, does he?
He comes over. So he was sort of half living in London, half living in Manhattan. He would come and spend like 4 or 5 months over here, and then go back to Manhattan. He was actually coming. He was just before COVID. He was going to move here permanently, but
okay.
COVID hit. So he's just sort of weighing up what he's going to do. But I still speak to him like most days. Still speak to him, and yeah, he's fucking legend. So yeah.
Yeah, I suppose he's still got a bit of influence in the industry.
Yeah, well, I think he's one of the people that's just like done so much. Like he managed the Ramones, Iggy Pop, obviously.
Yeah.
Like Jim Morrison's PR or whatever for a period of time, and yeah, it's just like any celebrity, he's probably met them. So, yeah. And like some of my heroes were like Iggy Pop. They were like Raw Power was one of like my sort of, when I first started getting into like rock music, like Raw Power was one of those albums, and the Ramones and stuff like that. So I was like, Jesus Christ, for him to say some of the stuff that he said about us is obviously sort of mind blowing, really.
Yeah. Who are your main influences then?
So like early 90s, well, not early 90s, but like 90s in general, like Pixies, Nirvana, and Radiohead, and like Rage Against the Machine were kind of like big influences on me. But then like Elliott Smith and like the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and I really like hip hop as well.
Yeah,
we try and incorporate some like old school hip hop stuff. Like Eminem was one of my first artists that I fell in love with, but before that, like Mobb Deep and N.W.A. and L Cool J, and some of the kind of verses and stuff are quite hip hop influenced, which a lot of people don't really pick up on. But yeah, so that's kind of the main influence, really, I suppose.
Yeah. What about the other boys?
Yeah, similar. We have like crossover things. I think like Radiohead and bands like that are the bands that we all love. Barney's kind of into, he's into that kind of stuff. He's also into like some more electronic stuff, like Aphex Twin and stuff like that. And Jake's into similar music to me, but he likes Neutral Milk Hotel, who I do love as well, but they're kind of like his big influences. He got me into Elliott Smith and like Bright Eyes, and he loves stuff like Muse and stuff. So it's all kind of a nice little kind of melting pot.
Yeah. Any new music you're listening to, mate?
I
Anything out there catching your eye or your ear?
Not loads at the minute, to be honest. I think Bob Vylan was the last kind of new act that
Bob Vylan. No, I can't. Don't talk to me about Bob Vylan.
And then like Strange Bones and Calvin Louise, bands like that. Probably the bands that I listen to quite a lot.
Yeah, you know that about that Bob Vylan? I just think he's a prick.
No,
he was doing a festival not so long ago. I can't remember what festival it was, but the Antwoord was supposed to be playing on there as well.
I haven't seen any of that. I don't know anything about
it. Yeah, and he put up this post and he said, "Oh, I'm making a petition because I don't want the Antwoord playing on the same festival as me because they're a bunch of scumbags. You know, I don't like the lyrics. They're homophobic, sexist, racist.
Really?
They might be, but you know, I mean, that's what rap music or whatever sort of music they play is all about. You know, I mean, he's not going to go and get Eminem kicked off a fucking festival, is he?
Well, no, true. I mean, I read though. I didn't know that he'd done that, but I thought I read that hadn't the lead singer like sexually assaulted someone or something.
I don't know why he did. I don't really care, but I just think it was a fucking cunt move. I was all.
If it's to do with like the guy's lyrics or whatever, then I mean that you could do that with anyone. But I suppose if he sexually assaulted someone, I probably wouldn't really want to play the same.
Well, I mean, even Bob Dylan's been accused of sexual assault now, hasn't he? So.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he just sold his back catalogue, didn't he, for like $300 million, and then some woman's come out of the woodwork and said, "Oh, he touched me like 50 years ago or whatever, and I want half his fortune."
Well, Bob Dylan was one of my main influences growing up, but yeah, I mean, like, you know, that there's some aspects of that culture that I don't like, and I've spoke about, I've been critical of, but I don't think it's all bad. I think a lot of people probably got away with shit that they shouldn't have done. I think it's just got to balance itself out a little bit. I think something that I talk about quite a lot. I'm on the left. I'd say that I'm a lefty, pretty far left. But there's a lot of that culture that I think we just need to take a step back from it. And I think the internet doesn't help that at all because it's so instant and encourages like kind of religious and tribal thought. But at the same side, I think there's good aspects to it. I mean, you know, stuff like that. I don't know much about Die Antwoord or Bob Dylan. I mean, I did read that I thought Die Antwoord did sexually assault someone. So if that's the case, I can understand why people wouldn't want to play that with it.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to just. There's two aspects of it. The zero sum game aspect of it, I think, is unhelpful. You got like talking about an issue without taking a point off someone else. I don't think that helps. But there's a lot of stuff that probably still, you know, needs to be addressed. I mean, I think the sexual assault stuff, there's loads of shit that even I remember, like at uni, like even my girlfriend, that, you know, I wish I would have fucking up. I wasn't there for what happened, but he did something to my girlfriend in this cunt at a club, and it wasn't taken seriously, even though like it's fucking wrong. And I think that stuff is good, and I'm glad that there's more of a light shone on that. I just think people need to find a way of balancing, you know, the good aspects of some of that with the. There's a big space in a lot of these issues where I think there's like stuff that's obviously wrong, and then there's stuff that's right, and then there's a big space in the middle. And I think what's happening is that people get plucked out of that for something they've done, and they get put like all in one category, which isn't helpful. But you know, I hope it balances out. It's just, you know, it's the internet. I mean, I fucking hate it. I think it brings out.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, well, no. I mean,
you pick a laptop now.
There's good aspects to it. I just think, you know, it's too instant and brutal, and encourages people to immediately want to do the worst thing you possibly can, because there's not that much consequence of you doing that, but there is on the other person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the culture that is created, and it seems to be happening in quite a middle class bubble, which for me, what attracted me to left wing politics was progression and diversity and equality and all that kind of stuff, but also the class, you know, element to it, which I think has been slightly removed. But that's my feelings on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you watched our episode with Sean Smith, but I mean, Sean Smith, it used to be in the Blackout, and now he's got a new band called Raiders. And on his first ever Raiders gig, I mean, he explained the whole story where his girlfriend is stood by there. She's like 6 foot almost. She's a really good looking girl, you know, beautiful girl. And then there's this other girl stood next to her dancing, and he's on stage having a good time. And he gets a bit crazy, Sean, you know, when he's on stage. Have you ever seen the Blackout?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, they broke up like 2015, I guess, maybe a bit before that. But yeah, he always liked to have a good time, you know. So he's looking at his girlfriend smiling, and then he's looking at this other girl smiling, and he just walks over and he like licks her on the forehead, you know. Just because this is like, yeah, this is me, this is Sean Smith, this is what I do, sort of thing. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the girl ran off fucking in tears or whatever, and she was outside, and then the support band was saying, "Oh, you need to fucking press charges against him for assaulting you."
Yeah, you well, that's just, yeah, that's just. I think that's where, again, what I was kind of speaking about. For me, what should happen there is like that girl should say, "I didn't really appreciate you doing that, and I'd rather you not do it again, and maybe you should." That's
yeah.
And then, you know, he can do what he wants, and I would like to think we'd take that on board or not. The thing of them pressing charges for that's where it's, you know, I don't know.
Well, the shitty thing was the support band was up his arse all night, you know, telling him how much they loved the Blackout and how much they loved Sean, and then as soon as he licked this girl's face, she ran outside. The support band are out there, and the support band are with her, saying, "Oh no, you should get him done for assault," you know.
Well, yeah.
It's like,
having said that, if I was on stage and he licked my face, I probably would be fucking fuming as well. So I mean,
yeah, but if you go there to see Sean Smith, I mean, well, you know,
I suppose if you go and see G.G. Allen, he's going to throw shit at you in the crowd. I suppose that's, you know.
Yeah, same thing, isn't it? So yeah, it's like you said. That I mean, the line is where is the line? There's no line anymore, is there? You know, the line's too far one way. I mean, you got all this cancel culture, and it's like, well, I don't know where it's going to stop.
Well, I think the thing with cancel culture is like I said, it's the internet now is basically an online international country cesspit or society, right? But it doesn't have, no one knows how to apply the rules of like what we were trying to work out for like hundreds and thousands of years in human society, which included, you know, accountability, freedom of expression, and all the other things that have taken hundreds of years to kind of work out. And then the internet comes along and it's like owned by private companies, and it's like basically now where most people communicate, where most people get their news, where most news put their news up, and where most people engage in like discourse about a lot of issues that have taken hundreds of years, and some of the issues shouldn't have taken hundreds of years, like, you know, gay people being able to get married and stuff like that, which is obviously a consequence of, for me, you know, things like religion still having major influence all across the world, and things like that shouldn't have taken that long, but they did. And then there's things, how we all interact with each other in society, and then the internet comes along and no one really knows how we operate in that world, and it's created things like that. Because I think the internet does encourage um, the worst aspects of tribalism, and
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
that can happen in any on any political spectrum, in any tribe or whatever you want to call groups of people, and it
Yeah.
encourages that. And I think that's what's happened, and it just needs to be fucking tampered a little bit. But I don't really know how. I my thoughts are kind of bleak on that. I don't know how that's possible, because the only way I think it is if tech companies invest the money, which they obviously have, in their in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, whatever it is, and treat it like a society. I do think that's the only way to actually solve the problem. If someone reports you for something that they deem is unfair, you get an appeal on it. You put forward why you don't think that was fair, while you know why you thought it was a joke, or you thought it was completely within your right to say. Then they have some kind of legal system where they have different people from different backgrounds, from different whatever, to sit there and say, no, I think that was wrong, I don't think that was fine, blah, blah, you get a strike against your record or whatever. That's the only way I think that it can be actually dealt with, is that there's some kind of investment into...
Well, they do that already, don't they? They've got this fucking bot system, and I mean, I've been written off Facebook quite a few times, to be honest. And my last strike was like a 30-day ban.
Yeah, I mean, we've just... Our Instagram's just been that, because someone called me a cunt, so I called them a cunt back, and then they fucking reported
you.
So but that's not what I'm talking about. That doesn't work, does it? That's not a workable way of doing it. They should invest the money to actually have tools at their disposal where you can actually put forward a real case as to why you think that was wrong, and you have people on the other end that actually appeal these things. I think that's...
Yeah. Well, I think they have got people, but they just haven't got enough.
They haven't got enough. Yeah.
You know, there's like 10, I don't know how many fucking millions of people are on Facebook, and then they've probably got about 100 people working in an office somewhere trying to read the disputes for all these claims, you know?
Yeah, you basically have like one side that just immediately jump to like wanting to censor someone, and I think some of them are well intentioned. I don't think it's a bad thing in society to have more awareness to racism and sexism and homophobia like that. I don't think that's bad. I think there'll be a balance to that where it's swung from one end to the other. But also in that, there's no context or anything for anything that's put online.
And that's the trouble.
And there's the big space in the middle of, you know, someone who's a genuine piece of shit scumbag who is posting abuse, and someone who's a perfect human being, and a million different things in the middle. And I think that culture of like cancel culture, whatever it is, just immediately want to jump onto like anything that they deem is wrong to have them removed and censored. And then on the other side, it's almost become like a meme where people believe that like freedom of speech means you can say whatever you want without like any consequence, or, you know, go back at you, and that's it. That's just it. And everyone else in the
consequence, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's good or bad, you know, there's always a consequence. There's always an answer to what somebody says, you know, or a question to an answer, whatever you fucking say it is. And there's always a consequence, you know. Whether that consequence, like I said, whether that consequence is good or bad. But context is a major player in all of this. I mean, you could read a text from your friend, and you could say, "Oh, yeah, look at this," and then you could show it to your girlfriend, and she could read exactly the same text. But if she translates it in a different context in her mind, it's going to read totally different, and then she's going to ask you, "Well, what's wrong with that?"
Yeah, well, I think that's the kind of major problem with online, though, because we engage in like really serious, heavy issues, and I used to do it as well, so I'm a hypocrite and I still dabble in it, but I now just limit my Twitter to 5 minutes a day to just go on there, post something about the band and come off it, because I realized nothing good really happens on there. Like Twitter is kind of influencing real life in some ways, which is terrifying. I mean, it is, but most people from normal working class or lower middle class, generally normal working people that are gay, white, black, trans, whatever, in a normal real world situation can have a conversation about a lot of the issues that are at the forefront of kind of our culture or the media most of the time. I do believe that, and I know that almost for a fact from experience, because you know, you go into a pub, you have friends, whatever, blah blah, you have conversations about that. Some like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's right, I think you're wrong. You engage, you talk. Sometimes I would say though, people that let Twitter influence them, a lot of them to me seem like really upper middle class white people, really, that are the ones that seem to be like immediately fucking jumping.
Unoffended.
Yeah, that is my experience with that. I know that's like generalizing a bit, but that's what I see the most. That's what I saw at university, and that's kind of what I think is part of the problem. They've allowed Twitter to influence their life, and they're like that in real life, and it's kind of a weird mix between the two now. But I think most people, you can talk about these issues in real life, and
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
and that's a shame that. And people are the worst version of themselves online. I mean, I've been an absolute cunt online and been condescending and patronising. But also, most things read like that online too. That's another problem. Like, you don't get anyone's body language. Like now, if I have a rant or give my opinion on stuff, which I always do, I'm never going to shy away from my opinion. I try and do a video or like just something online if something's on my mind, because you kind of get like the inflection in my voice, my body language. I just think in a post you can't really say if you're being sarcastic or you're
exactly.
Or so that's, but it's it is bleak. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know how we pull back from that, because you can't even, and like I say, all my ideals align with the left. I've been involved and interested in left-wing politics since I was about 16, but you can even have a slightly different opinion to someone. I noticed it the most at university, and that's, I think, the middle classation of left-wing politics. For me, the right wing's always been middle class. So in a lot of ways, that's kind of my opinion on it. In a lot of ways, it's always seemed like a middle class planet to me, the right wing, and it's another reason why I've never been that interested in it and don't think it's the greatest vision for our society. But I think the middle classation of left-wing politics is kind of what's causing a lot of the nuance and context to be taken out of a lot of these debates, in my opinion, anyway.
What's left-wing politics? Is that like Labour and?
Well,
I don't know what it is, so I don't really follow politics. I never have. I've never been interested in it. You know, too many monkeys trying to tell you what to do, and
I don't think it's necessary just voting for Labour. I mean, I don't think that means it. I think more of like, if your ideals align with things that are traditionally seen as left. I mean, I'd say, for me, I don't like organised religion. I don't like nationalism. I think being proud of your country is pointless.
Why?
What?
Don't you ever watch a rugby? What's wrong with you, man?
I mean, I like watching football, but like, I mean, my mum and dad banged on a bit of rock in outer space. I don't know why, like that. Me being proud of that fact that happened in England is just like irrelevant. I am for LGBT rights, and I am for equality, and a lot of socialism and Marxism makes sense to me. But I also believe in freedom of speech, and I do have friends that are conservatives or centre right leaning to me. I don't have any problem having a conversation with them, and that is a problem that I noticed at uni, where like it seemed like there was a complete aversion to talk to anyone that has a slightly different political belief system to you, which I don't think is helpful. And that's something that I kind of noticed happening more in kind of the circles that I was hanging out with. But that's not going to make me not believe in what I believe. My opinion is enough for me, and I believe that. I just don't know where it's going to go. Do you know what I mean?
Same as me, mate. Bob Dylan's a cunt.
I mean, one always made a good album. If that dude sexually assaulted someone recently, I wouldn't really feel that comfortable sharing a stage with him either, to be honest.
Yeah, but and what's happened to the old? I don't know. I don't actually know if he sexually assaulted somebody or not. I don't know if he's been tried for it or not. I'm assuming he hasn't. And so what's happened to the old adage of you're innocent until you're proven guilty, like?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that is another consequence of the of the culture. Like I say, that I do think some of that is correcting stuff that's in a grey area on the other side. That there's loads of stuff that just isn't on, and you can't have people being arrested for it. I suppose that's also the problem. You can't have like the police going out and nicking people for like licking someone's face or whatever. But there's a grey area where people have got away with shit in a culture too, like lad culture and which is fucking wrong and fucked up and has never been taken seriously. So there's a pushback to that, which I understand. But yeah, then there's the thing of like the very nature of being online is you can say anything you want about someone, and there's no, by the time it doesn't matter if it's true or not. So that's I don't know how that gets fixed though. That I think my rough system of like more people having a real kind of treating that like a society would sort out some of the problems of like abuse and then people, you know, being called any kind of ism for something that might not be on the other. I think that would help that situation. How you solve the problem of like people saying he's done that, fuck you, and then it going viral and then being then no, that doesn't matter if it's true or not. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know.
Well, you can't fix it. I mean, it's the same. It's the same with rape allegations, isn't it? To be honest, I mean, you know, the rapist is usually a man. Let's get that fucking fact out there for a start. And then the rapist is always named, but the victim isn't. You know, and if that guy's innocent and he hasn't actually raped that person, like footballers, for example, get dragged into it and they're actually innocent sometimes. I can't say they're always innocent, but you know, and then the victim gets away with it scot-free, and some guy's reputation is in ruins, you know.
Yeah, that's obviously wrong, and
but that needs to be addressed as well. I mean, that's something that's been going on for years and years and years, and there's a lot of innocent men that have been practically crucified for it.
I think that's wrong, but I think there's still a problem inherently in that system of what and how people. There's so many women that don't feel like they can go to the police about rape or sexual assault and don't feel like it gets taken seriously enough, and that's wrong. And that, I mean, they're both wrong. Again,
the whole situation's wrong, isn't it? Really,
the whole situation. Yeah, the whole situation's wrong. But like,
you know, from left and right, to be honest. I mean, if you're not gonna name the accuser, then why should you name the accused? You know.
I mean, I don't think either of them should be named.
No, they shouldn't. No, not until it's all cleared up.
No, I don't think either of them should be named. I don't think that. But the problem is there's. You know, I think even like with the Wayne Cousins thing and Sarah Everard, I mean, how the fuck that dude wasn't struck off by the police force when he got his cock out is just like shocking to me. So I think it's in all these sort of things, there's a lot of kind of righteous anger, but I think it's sort of directed at each other rather than a lot of the times where it should be directed. I think, and I know for a fact. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the police, but I know a lot. Like, there's shit in the police that still goes on that is so fun. I mean, I'm not a fan of the police, but
Walking on the Moon was pretty good.
I've never liked him. My dad grew up in a very, very poor part of East London, and the police were cunts. I mean, I know they're not all cunts, but like, I just can't. There's something about people that want to go into a position of authority that just doesn't quite sit well with me. But anyway, so I think there's like righteous anger that's just sort of directed at each other, unfortunately, rather than in the kind of in the places that they should be directed. But that again, I think that is a consequence of the internet, and it's a shame that I feel like that sometimes. I try and just point out like any kind of slight criticisms of that culture, and you're kind of immediately thrown to the wolves. And it's not just the left that do it. I think I'm critical of the left on that because that's kind of my circles and I see it more. But also I still see people on the right and the alt-right doing the exact same shit that they're being, like when fucking Nigel Farage tried to get Joe Brand arrested for the joke about acid. It's like, how the fuck can you do that and then like, complain that the other side do that all the time? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much. There's so much that we could have a moan about. But I mean, even with this George Floyd thing, all right, it was wrong that he got his neck stamped on by that copper and he was murdered. But now they built a statue of him and put him up in New York, like.
Yeah,
You had all these people tearing down all these statues of historical figures because they were all wrong, and then you go and put a statue of a career criminal in fucking New York.
yeah, but I don't think I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the police shouldn't be murdering people on the street. I mean, I don't.
They shouldn't be murdering people in private either.
Well, no,
but they do.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, like I don't. Whether you're a past criminal or not, the police shouldn't be killing you. They're granted powers to use, and in fairness, in America, they're doing it. They do it far too often. I mean, I know that it's still a small percentage, but it has been happening for years and decades, and especially in poor black communities for ages.
Yeah. I understand all that, but I don't see why you should make a martyr out of fucking George Floyd.
Well, yeah, but he was murdered on TV.
Yeah, he was actually murdered on somebody's fucking cell phone who probably sold it to the media for a fortune.
Well, yeah,
and then allegedly, but
that's a separate issue. I mean,
it is, yeah.
The police killed him, and it was on camera. And in fairness, I don't think institutional racism in the police has been completely sorted out, especially in America. And I can understand the anger. I mean, I thought some of the statues. I don't really give a fuck about a statue of a slave owner being taken down. I just don't care. I mean, I'd stick it in a museum or something. It's part of history.
You can't eradicate history, can you?
No, you can't. But I can understand if I was black, I probably wouldn't want to walk past a statue of a guy that, orchestrated part of the slave trade. If I was Jewish, I probably wouldn't want to walk past a statue of Himmler. But those things did happen. So, yeah, I think put them in a museum. And then I think there was some targets that were stupid, like they went after like Gladstone and stuff. But that's an issue that the black community feel like they've been facing for decades, and it was an overspilling of anger. I didn't, some of the rioting and the violence was stupid. I don't think that solves any problems, especially again considering it's a lot of that's being done in poorer communities. I don't think that's helpful. But no, I don't have any problem with George Floyd. Whatever he'd done in his past. I know people that have been in prison. People in my family that have been in prison. They shouldn't be fucking killed by the police.
No, they shouldn't be killed. But do you think he should have had a statue erected of him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because like the point of prison is that it's not a perfect system, but you're meant to go to prison, you pay your debt, and then you come out and you're
supposed to be rehabilitated.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really work. The prison system's broken. We know that.
Well, it is broke, but I know some people even in my family who've come out of prison and have had a completely turn their life around. Yeah, loads of people don't, but I don't think George Floyd being a criminal should mean that he shouldn't have a statue for him. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, my point is that they tore down all these statues, accusing all these historical figures of being criminals, if you like, and then go and erect another criminal. So it's just like hypocritical.
Well, yeah, kind of. But I mean, I think they were more going after originally like the guy in Bristol and stuff. I mean, he had his wealth and his estate at the time was built off the back of.
Yeah, but they didn't just go. In the end, they just went after any statue that was standing, didn't they?
Yeah, and then
there's some mindless idiots. Probably most of them are football hooligans. Thinking, "Oh, we go tear down the statue and cause a riot," and
Well, yeah, the football hooligans that turn up as like the counter thing.
Yeah. Oh, they did. They did. Yeah.
Again, though, that's like why I just don't get why like people. Honestly, man, like most people are just like followers that are convinced that they're leaders. That's why I don't like religion so much. I think
Yeah, me too.
people, well, I just don't get why people cared that much about, like, look, take any historical figure, and this goes on both sides. Churchill was put in the middle of the debate, right? I don't give a like. Churchill was a good wartime leader and helped us win the war, but also he was a bit of a cunt and he was a bit of a racist, and that is the matter of the fact. I kind of don't get the protection of him on one side, that he's like some fucking idol. Like, why do you care? I just don't get why people like do something with your own life. I don't give a shit why you get upset with it. And on the other side, like, you know, put it into context that, you know, I think it should be taught at schools. I think that would be another solution to some of these problems. Like, I think if you got taught at schools, like Churchill, what he did, and also the bad sides of him, and that he was a human being that was a leader like a million other ones.
Yeah,
I think that would stop that kind of nationalistic obsession with like British icons. I mean, it doesn't just happen in Britain, but I'm talking about Britain.
No. I mean,
but I think that would stop that obsession with that, and I think people would kind of be able to step outside themselves a little bit more and outside their echo chamber. For the record, I don't think Churchill's statue should have been taken down. I'm just saying I don't think there's a problem with also teaching that like he had dodgy views towards Jews and black people and Indians and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's wrong to know both. But the slave owner statues, I don't really give a fuck. I can understand why black people wouldn't want them up.
Yeah, but like you said, it's still part of history, you know, and I think it's more. It should be more for education rather than you can't eradicate it than just educate.
Well, yeah, but you could do that in a museum. I mean, like, they wouldn't have a statue of Hitler or Himmler or Goebbels or whatever. Or Goethe. In fact, a lot of those statues got taken down. But if people have ever gone to Germany, they do it in a really good way. Berlin has sort of German history quite out in the open. The atrocities of Nazi Germany. It's not celebrated. It is there, but they also don't have like statues of fucking Hitler doing a Nazi salute in the middle. So there's a way of you know. There's a way of doing that.
Yeah. Well, they got a statue of Rocky in Philadelphia with his hands in the air.
Well, there you go. I mean, I don't think that's
fucking. Remember your icons, Sylvester Stallone.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone's going to go after that.
Yeah, it's a bit mad. Anyway, we had a bit of a rant here, I guess. Do you like cakes, mate?
They're all right. I mean, they're not a passion of mine, but I've eaten them before. Yeah, how come?
Yeah, because I read this story earlier on about this guy. He's got a bakery in Leeds, and he's had it for years. You know, he's been baking these cakes, and like, I don't know, he makes cupcakes and stuff, and birthday cakes and whatever. But he's putting these. It caught my eye because it said he'd been putting illegal sprinkles on there. Now I immediately thought, have you ever seen the movie Twin Town?
No, I haven't. No.
Because they have sort of like illegal sprinkles on their hot dogs. They're called magic mushrooms, right?
Okay.
So I saw this headline caught me. He's putting illegal sprinkles on his cakes. So I thought, oh, maybe it's LSD or fucking bit of ecstasy or whatever. But it turns out that he's been importing sprinkles, you know, little hundreds and thousands things, from America. And they're coming into the UK. I mean, I think he must be the only cake shop that sells them on his cakes, because it's got a substance in it, and it's called Red Number 3, so it must be some sort of food colouring or something.
Right.
And somebody must have complained about his cakes, because their kids must have been getting hyperactive or something when they've been eating them, because this Red Number 3 makes you pretty hyperactive. And so I don't know what it is. Is it the foods? I don't know what it is in the UK. I'm not in the UK anymore, see, I'm in Auckland. Food Administration or something?
Oh yeah, the FDA, I think they're calling it.
In America it's the FDA. I don't think it's called that in the UK, is it?
I don't know. I think it's something similar though, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. But they went into his cake shop anyway, and they obviously grabbed a couple of these sprinkles, and they've said, right, you can't put sprinkles on your cakes anymore. Not the US ones anyway. You can use the UK ones, but he's turned around and he said, I'm going on sprinkle strike. No more fucking cakes of mine are having any sprinkles from the UK, because the UK sprinkles are shit. So,
Fair enough.
so what do you think about that?
I don't know what I think about that.
Have you ever had a problem with UK sprinkles?
I mean, I've never thought about it ever. Once. I've never thought about it. I don't. Do they taste different? I have no idea.
I don't know. I haven't got a clue, to be honest.
I have no idea. No
I
idea.
didn't say in the article that they taste different. I mean, obviously, they do animal trials and all these stuff in America, and they give them like mega doses, and should been showing cancer in rats and stuff, but and hyperactivity in kids. But I think the problem with all these like clinical trials on animals is they mega dose stuff.
Yeah.
For you to ingest what that rat or rabbit has just eaten, you would have to be injected with it like fucking 1,000 times over. Probably about a ton of the stuff to go into your body,
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't that one of the problems with animal trials? Apart from
Yeah, it's just fucked up, man.
like immoral, isn't it? Like, yeah, they're not even that. Like, you can't really apply it to humans that well.
No,
Yeah.
that's the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the sprinkles have been banned, and he's gone on sprinkle strike.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty comical, I think, because he said UK sprinkles are shit. So I don't really know what the difference would be.
Maybe they are. I mean, I'm not sure we need that many more exports from America, to be honest. I think we've had enough. But
I don't think they're going to be importing anything from America soon. Anyway, I think Biden's pretty anti-Brexit, isn't he?
is he? Oh,
I
fair
think
enough.
so. Yeah, I think Trump was pro-Brexit and Biden's anti-Brexit. I think so. You
Yeah.
probably got some.
I mean, I'd
Some
say, yeah, I'm anti-Brexit. I voted to stay in. I mean, it's gonna make my life a lot more difficult touring Europe next year, but I just didn't. But again, the way that was argued was just fucking stupid from both sides. It was like so little real information that you could get on it. It was just, yeah, it's kind of another, I hate to go on about it, but I just think it's the internet. I just think it's so difficult to get any kind of real. I mean, I try and go out of my way to like read different points of view from different news sources on different sides of the coin.
yeah.
But I understand that a lot of people don't have time. I mean, I barely have time to do that. But like, yeah, I think, yeah, it's just that's just the way it is. It's just a mess.
Yeah, I think, well, you got sold down the river, really, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't see the fucking. Well, I thought Cameron only gave the referendum because he was trying to steal UKIP voters anyway, and I'm not against referendums. I don't think it's a bad thing to give people the choice, but I think it's a good sort of exercise of democracy, obviously. But like at the end of the day, the EU, and I am not being like a snob at all, because people were given the vote and they voted, and that was the case. But like, I didn't fucking understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
I know people are a lot smarter than me that could barely fucking get their head around the pros and cons of leaving the EU, and for him to basically give that referendum because he wanted to steal some voters,
Yeah.
was like it was fucking shocking, really. I mean, it was, and that's that. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's going to turn out to be a good thing, in my opinion.
No. I mean, to be honest, the only two messages I got from it was stop people coming into the country, and we're going to save £350 million a week for the NHS.
Yeah, that was
And that was the two main things that people were voting for.
Yeah.
And both of them were lies.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
I think that's the thing. It's a shame, because I mean that's what I think people like Nigel Farage and people like that do. I mean they turned the whole thing into immigration, and then it became a thing of basically like, people kind of Farage's side kind of tapping into some sort of like bullshit view of like what Britishness and like, and again, why I can't stand nationalism. and like playing on people's fears on that. And then the other side was just so fought against that it was sort of like, even if you thought about voting leave, even if it's from a left wing standpoint or whatever, because there's loads of left wing reasons why the EU is awful.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit and you voted UKIP, and that was basically, by the end of it, they were the two arguments, and you couldn't really get a word in edgeways. And that was a shame, because I think there were probably some legitimate reasons to leave the EU. They do seem kind of just like a big corporate like jack off in one sense, but the other sense was like, the argument of like, we were fine before it, I just thought was a stupid argument as well, because it's like, well, you've been in it for like 30 years. It's not, you don't know, leaving it is not the same as joining it, because it's two completely different points in time.
Yeah.
And in the end, I just decided that we should have just stayed in for kind of the ease. And I like the idea of traveling around Europe and touring, kind of a selfish reason, without having to fucking pay for the visa and shit like that. And
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to my dad the other day, and he said, "Oh yeah, we should never joined it in the first place." Well, obviously somebody thought it was a good idea to join it. And now somebody's fucking thought it was a good idea to leave it, and it's two different sides of an argument, but you can't go back in time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the world's different. The load about politics and exports and immigration system coming in and leaving and going to live in places in Europe was now completely changed in 30 years. So it's sort of like, it's not the same as joining it. But again, it was like there was so little, the information on it was just a fucking mess. And in all honesty, it's like, I don't think a load of people actually had that much idea what it would mean to leave. I think also as well, I think a lot of it was a protest vote for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A little bit of that too. People feel like they're not being listened to, left behind, blah blah blah. I think there was some of that too. It was it was a bit grim, really. I mean, all politics in the last 10 years has been fucking grim, to be honest. I mean, Trump was another one. I mean, fuck me, like a reality TV star taking it. It just.
Well, he's not the first one. I mean, Ronald Reagan was the fucking president.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. He was a cowboy.
Exactly.
Quite literally.
Fucking, that was just the most bizarre thing as well. And I just thought he was an absolute cunt.
Yeah, so what's your plans for the next 12 months? I mean, you mentioned you got a new album in the works.
Yeah, we just finished our second album. We recorded that with Frank Turner. We're basically going to be touring for most of next year from about March onwards. We're plotting the singles and the release at the minute. But it's a bit awkward at mix. There's like a big vinyl backlog and stuff like that. It's like 6-7 month wait. So they're just kind of basically trying to get that right. And everyone's fucking releases has been all postponed. So you don't want to put it out in a time where it's like loads of other albums are coming out. So yeah, we're just sort of like putting that together. But it's done. We're just waiting on the final mixes, and then we've got to get it mastered. And there'll be a single out before, I reckon, early next year, probably January or February. First single from it.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, didn't the factory burn down or something, the vinyl factory?
Oh, there's been loads of, there was that. And I think it's just the backlog from the whole period of COVID as well.
Yeah. I thought I read somewhere that the main, I don't know why, but the main factories in California, you'd think it would be in fucking China, wouldn't you?
Is that what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, the main vinyl factory apparently is in California, and the place burnt down, so...
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, that does make sense, actually. See, I got to our manager just said there's a backlog, and I thought it was something to do with COVID, but yeah, that probably has got something to do with it.
Yeah, because I know a couple of bands have been waiting on vinyl releases, and they just can't get the vinyl, so...
Yeah, well, we had to repress our first album because it sold out, and it was meant to be here in November. I don't think we're going to get that to January, February. That was like May time that got repressed. So...
Yeah. All right then, mate. Well, we put the world to rights today, I think.
Yeah, well.
Pity David wasn't you. He's more intellectual than me. I'm just a fucking thick Welsh guy, and he's a more He went to university. I never went to university, see.
Oh, fair enough.
I only went to comprehensive school way back in the day. when it was
Yeah.
still called comprehensive school, you know.
I was the first in my family to go. My family were from Canning Town in East London. They were really my dad was from the fucking underclass. My mum was working class, and they worked to get me. We moved out of Canning Town when I was small, and I managed to go to. I didn't go to a private school, but I went to a better school than I would have gone on if I'd have gone to school in Canning Town. And then I was the first to go to university, so I suppose I was kind of like the, like the experiment, I suppose, in the family. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, my mum wanted me to go to art college and all that sort of stuff, but being from South Wales, I mean, when you're 16 years old, you want to go and get a job, and
yeah,
I worked, I had a paper round from the time I was like 12 years old, because I just wanted to earn money and stuff, and then when I left school at 16, I went straight in the steel factory,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
and
probably.
yeah, and if you talk about the police, I mean, you can have some few run-ins with the South Wales police, like. They're
Yeah,
pretty free with their fists and their feet and their batons, Well, back in the day anyway, when I was a kid.
yeah, yeah. Well, I actually think that it's I there's probably a bigger crossover there than people think. I think it'd be naive to not think that black people have had a harder time with the police, especially in America, and I think in the UK as well. But I think there's a crossover there where I imagine there's a lot, and I know that from my family and things that my dad would say about the police would literally just wait outside like rough pubs in East London,
Yeah.
beat people up and chuck them in the back of vans and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the police force is a very, very middle class, posher sort of environment than maybe it is now. Maybe it still is. I don't know, but I think there's a crossover there. To be fair, and I think there's a lot. I think that what I do think that I think, which has been the biggest divider I think in history. I think kind of the right have done it, and I think the left are kind of doing it by accident now, where I think they're dividing up or causing divisions a little bit in the working classes. I think the right used to do that all the time, to be like, oh, it's immigrants' fault that you're poor. It's immigrant fault that you're doing this, and that would be like the main narrative from the media.
Yeah.
And poor immigrants and poor, British people, or however you want to describe them, working class people, no matter what they are, have a lot more in common than they probably realise. And I think that's something that I hope shifts, because I think there's a lot of crossovers in poor communities.
Yeah. There is. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I grew up in a very affluent area, to be honest.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is still exactly the same. I mean, from where I come from, like Pontypool, and if you go a little bit further up the valley, if you look at it, I took my girlfriend there because my girlfriend's Dutch, and she can't believe it. It's like going back 40, 50 years in time.
Yeah, no, I know.
She's like, what the fuck's this?
Yeah. I think that it's still a reality for people that a lot of people don't quite realise. I mean, I did notice that at university. Like I said, like it was. So we moved out of Canning Town when I was small. Jake and Barney are from similar backgrounds. Barney grew up in East Ham. Jake's parents were Irish. Their grandparents were Irish immigrants. Jake grew up in Seven Kings, poor area. Their parents got better jobs. We moved out to like Upminster Hornchurch way, sort of a slightly more middle class area on the outskirts of East London.
Yeah.
But I'd go back to Canning Town a lot as a kid, see my family and stuff like that, and it's just a reality that a lot of people just don't really understand what it's like. I think that's, and I do think the right wing for a long period of time exploited that. And now I think it's just a case of what I noticed at university anyway, of just like, again, more middle class white people with like maybe a self-loathing complex, maybe for the right reasons, can't imagine what a lot of those poor areas are like. So they kind of like talk about working class issues while they like move into their estates in East London. I think that's kind of there's a little bit of a weird thing going on there as well. The places like Bethnal Green now have like gastro pubs like opposite council estates.
Okay.
And it's just like, it is bizarre. It is bizarre. I think that's, yeah, I do think that. I think that's just a reality for a lot of people that they can't actually envision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, maybe they're just trying to encourage growth in the area, but yeah, it's just bizarre, man.
No, it is bizarre. Yeah,
But I mean, the way London has grown anyway as well over the last 60 years is fucking bizarre in itself. You know?
yeah. It's a massive city now. So it's a
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. I
Um,
mean,
and you've got like Central London, which is really affluent and rich. I mean, ridiculously expensive. There's
yeah,
no chance of anyone fucking buying a place there if you're from any kind of like humble background. And then you've got kind of poorer areas where like places like my family grew up, which are now kind of being gentrified and stuff like that, but not really solved any of the actual main issues of like kind of poverty and crime and stuff like that in those areas. So that's, I just think there's a lot of tension, and I just hope it kind of, I just hope people just take a step back and maybe try and see someone else's experience, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, all right then, mate. I mean, all right, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
maybe we put the world to right a bit, but I don't know. Don't think anyone's gonna fucking listen to us, fair. Do you know what I mean?
no, probably not. But I don't think anyone's listening to anyone at the minute, are they? That's the kind of, that is all I see, really. I don't see people taking anything on from someone else. That's kind of, I feel like even someone who I like might violently disagree with, I try and at least try and see their point of view. I might walk away and still disagree with them. I probably will, but like try and sort of take something on. I mean, I know some people are just fucking lost causes, but you don't. I think you grow as a person or as a species if you don't try and listen to what anyone else has to say. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to somehow try and find that balance, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, somewhere along the line, there's got to be a happy medium. But
I think it will. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it will come. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it
Maybe.
was bliss the other week when Facebook went down and Instagram went down.
That's probably the only way it'll happen if all that stuff just gets taken, if it just disappears. I mean, it's just too powerful. I think like the, the algorithms and stuff like that. It's just people are just so stuck in their own echo chamber that they've like built for themselves because they're being constantly given that information that will either make them just completely raging, and probably rightly so because it's something like completely egregious or like affront to their person, or they're just given information that confirms their point of view. So it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's what's happening, and just people just need to try and not fucking click on everything that they're just given. I think that's
yeah, yeah. Like you said, the algorithms. It's a pretty smart thing, mind, that these people have invented.
yeah,
But
very,
it's actually soul destroying as well. So
yeah, it's
it's
like
crazy. I mean, you can talk about something and then you Google it once and then you go back and talk about it, and 3 days later it'll pop up on your phone and you're like, fucking hell, this is spooky. I was only just talking about this,
yeah,
you
I
know.
mean,
But it's
people,
all logged. Everything you look at is logged in your phone or whatever, your computer. And
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, people are being like willingly given the rope that they're going to hang themselves with. I think
yeah,
that's kind of what's happening.
yeah, yeah. All right then, mate. Well, on that note,
Well, yeah, cheers. Thanks for
so
having
yeah, you
me.
got a new album coming out next year. Is it
Yeah,
titled yet or?
it has got a title, but well, it's got a couple of titles, so I need to choose one.
All
But
right,
yeah,
okay. And then you'll be on tour in March, you said.
March through till late March through till festival season, and then we've got another tour at the end of next year. So yeah, we're doing a lot of gigs this year, and obviously we've got to go on tour in November. So
Yeah, yeah. I saw that 16 dates you got.
yes, well, it
Is
was
that your own tour or you got a tour with someone else?
no, that's our own tour. That's our
All
headline.
right, cool.
So we was meant to be going over to Ireland, but it looks like we made the right decision on pulling that today because they're not fully opening up venues yet. So
Okay.
we kind of had to make that call about a month ago because if we were going to go, it would just be such a financial loss if we paid for everything and the ferry and accommodation, and then we go over there and we can only play to like 10 people. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and it looks like we made the right decision. But we are going to be doing Ireland next year. We're going to do 4 dates in Ireland. We've just not announced it yet. So,
Okay. And what about Europe then? Are you going to be coming over here?
yeah, we've got at the minute, I think, again, not announced yet, but I think it's France, Austria, Germany, Belgium, maybe Italy. But we're we've got some of the dates locked in. We're just sprinkling the other dates around that. That'll be next late April.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What sort of size venues you playing at?
Probably small clubs, like 100, 300 cap, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Did I send you a venue? I sent you a venue the other day, didn't I?
Can't remember. I can't remember. Send it over again. I'll have a little look.
Yeah, there's a couple around me, and I'll send you some over. You can, because I'm in the Eindhoven area. You know,
All right. Okay.
I don't know if you follow football. It's
Yeah.
PSV land.
Yeah.
I'm not far from the centre, and from the centre I'm about 10 minutes drive probably.
Cool.
But I'm in Helmond, and there's like a couple of venues this way, and then there's a few more venues that way. So,
Cool.
I mean, if you're talking 100, I mean, maybe you could even get on as a support of some popular band that's over here. You know.
Yeah, sweet. Well, it'll be our own headline tour, but we are looking to do a couple of supports while we're out there as well. Just sort of working on it at the minute. So yeah.
All right, and that's in April, you said.
April, yeah. We'll probably announce that tour at the end of the year. We just got to do this one, get this one out of the way.
Yeah,
and then...
yeah. Just let me know. Well, send me some dates when you're coming over this side of the water, because then maybe I can have a scout about for you.
I will do.
And then keep my ears open, and I'll keep in touch.
Cheers, mate.
And I'll post all your socials on the YouTube.
Sweet, awesome.
For us, you got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I guess.
All the shit that I was just complaining about earlier.
Yeah.
So.
God damn it. Well, yeah, like I said, there are good things and there are bad things. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, we had India Willoughby on a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, I only really met her, like I said, because I'm in Holland and I don't really watch UK television, and I only really met her on Twitter because she was being bullied on Twitter, you know, and I just can't stand bullying anyway. And I didn't know who she was, and she put this post up about being bullied, and then I reached out to her and I said, "Oh, why didn't you just come on and tell us why you're being bullied?"
Wow.
And then she said, "Oh, I'm not ready for it yet," and blah blah blah. But I didn't know. And then I looked up who she was, obviously, after I'd messaged her, which I do quite a lot lately. I don't know fucking know why, but I and found out that she was like the first transsexual newsreader and stuff, and that's why she was.
She's trans, yeah.
Yeah. That's why she was being bullied, you know.
Right.
But yeah, when she came on, and we had quite a good episode there actually. She's pretty cool.
Oh, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, she's really nice. I mean, it's again the same sort of thing, you know, with the press and stuff. A lot of the stuff gets misconstrued, and you see some of her interviews on the TV. You know, she's always fighting against some sort of fucking activist. To be honest, they like invite her in on Good Morning Britain or whatever the fucking is, and then they say, "Oh, you've got to speak to Posey Parker, who's a right cunt,"
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And so she's always put in these different sort of situations. But I sort of went into her background a little bit, and I mean, when she was a boy, you know, she had trials for Carlisle United, and she was offered trials for Aston Villa. I think she used to play football and stuff.
Mm.
And she's quite an interesting character. So it's not.
What was her view? What was her viewpoint on the whole thing?
On.
Well, on what was she talking about? Trans issues, I suppose.
Not really. I mean, we sort of like skated. We didn't really go into it. I wanted to know a bit more about her background.
Right.
I asked her if she did the normal guy thing, you know, when you're a guy, if you get married and have kids and all that sort of stuff, and she did all that when she was a man.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a heavy interview. I don't like calling them interviews anyway. I mean, that's way too formal for me. I'm only some knobhead having a chat with you, like, you know. But we just discussed some stuff, and then we went a little bit further down the road into her trans issues. And her opinion is the trans has been stuck on the end of LGB, and it has no right being there. You know, sexuality is getting mixed up with gender issues.
I wouldn't agree with that, but
yeah, well, her point of view is being a trans person doesn't necessarily make you a lesbian, bi, or gay.
No, it doesn't. But I would say that it would still. I think it still has a right to be there. I mean...
Well, her opinion is there's numbers in... what do you call it? Supporting numbers. So they've lumped the trans community into the LGB community.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, that's her opinion. She's entitled to it. I don't think I'd agree with that, though.
I think she knows a bit more about it than me.
Yeah, I think she knows more about it than me. But I would say that I still think that trans people are... deserve their rights. I kind of don't get the infighting on that, to be honest.
No, and that's another problem, she said, you know.
Yeah.
You know, everything's just sort of getting mixed up with everything else, and it's like.
I would say trans people are still people that are like,
Well, the thing is, the trans people are more outliers. I mean, if you go back 30, 35 years ago, excuse me, the gay people were the outliers,
mm,
you know? And
yeah,
it's taken 30 years for them to be accepted into the community as normal people, really. And now, because there's only like 1% in the world that are trans people, they are now the outliers.
yeah.
And this is why the trans community or the LGB community have added the trans in. So it's like a safety in numbers thing. Come in with us,
Mm.
and we'll support you. But
Well, I
in
think
30 years, trans people will be normal people as well, I
I
guess.
think that, yeah, and I think that's fair enough. I mean, I think like again, I think because the trans issue is at the front of same kind of thing we're talking about now. It's kind of at the front, and probably for a lot of reasons. Because as you say, I think trans people still haven't had their. There's a lot of stuff in the trans community that they feel like they need support for, and I understand that. I think they have every right to be in the LGBT sort of group, and I don't quite get the infighting. I think like some of that though is the same kind of thing. It's like really trouble. I mean, my opinion on like trans issues is that the way I see it is like if there's a lot of obsession now with kind of like taking apart like tiny little nuances, like kind of ignoring the nuance of the situation, then like like arguing over like really kind of half relevant things. Like I don't understand the toilet thing, like J.K. Rowling's thing, like trans people using women's toilets. It's like, but are you really expecting a trans woman who is a woman to like use a male toilet? I
I
don't.
know it's.
I don't understand that argument. I think the way that I see it, my analogy is that like, um, if you grew up with a brother who was adopted, you would still treat that person as your brother, and you know what that means when you say that person is your brother. You love them like your brother. You see them as your brother, and I would be suspicious of someone that would come in and say that person isn't your brother because they are biologically not your brother. I don't understand why people feel the need to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's a very, very minute part of that activism that gets amplified online by trying to like negate like the biology of it, and say like biological sex isn't real. But I think that's a really, really small part of that online discourse being taken place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I just, yeah, it's another one of them things. Like I see trans people, a trans woman as a woman. I see a trans man as a man. I don't see a lot of the arguments made against it. I just don't understand. I think I've seen a little. I think now you said that. I think I saw her argue against someone saying that she said that biological sex was real. But I think most people think that. I don't. I don't. Again, I think that's just an online thing. That kind of comes out online, and people get people on TV to like get ratings up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Think,
have you seen that Posey Parker woman?
no, I don't know who that is.
She's horrific, mate. She's like this neo-Nazi type person who's against trans people. We did have a bit of a talk because she put this poster up, not a poster, a billboard, and it said, "woman." It was basically taken from the dictionary. It was the noun or the proverb or whatever you fucking call it. Woman, and then the noun, an adult female, and it was a massive billboard. Black billboard, white writing,
Right.
and then some guy came along and said it was a transphobic statement. And I had this conversation with India, and I said, well, it's not really a transphobic statement because it is actually a fact that's written in the dictionary. But it wasn't about the statement, it was about who the statement was by. And it was by this Posey Parker. This Posey Parker put it up,
Right.
so it was more to do with, again, context.
But what was she? What she was saying that there's?
She's saying that trans women are not women,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know why people say that. Like I just don't. Because you people. I think people that do that, I am really suspicious of them, and I think there's hatred there, in some way, shape, or form. Where it's
There was. You could tell if you watch her interviews on the internet. It's on Good Morning Britain, and you could tell she sat next to him, and you could see she's disgusted even sitting next to him.
because it's sort of like, but if you keep going on about like, you know, these kind of, I do think they're transphobic. They're so obsessed with saying like, this is a woman, you're a trans woman, this is an adult, blah blah. It's like, but if you're so obsessed with it that, well, say a man transitions into a woman, well, she's not a man either. If you're talking about sort of physical biology and things that have been changed, they're not like they're not a male either. So it's sort of like, I don't really get why you're so against, you know, trans women being called women. I just don't understand where that culture's come from either.
Yeah,
and it's just, it's another one of them things. It's like, yeah, there is quite a lot of transphobic stuff online. I think like some of the, you know, like I said, there are a verbal minority, but a lot of the time, again, I think from white, straight, middle class university students that take that on and sort of become like vicious and angry towards the other side. But there is a lot of transphobic stuff going around. I think it's wrong. It's just sort of like, why do you give a shit if, for a start, it's been happening for decades, like people using the toilet? Because it's like, do you honestly think what it'd be like for a trans woman who's a woman to like use a male toilet in a pub? It'd be horrific.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just bullshit. It's just another one of those kind of angry, vicious people screaming at each other, and it's just, yeah, it's a shame. But I'll watch that. I didn't know that I don't know who Posey Parker is. That's a shame.
Yeah, you should watch it. She's foul. Yeah, you know, it's like I said. I mean, I live in Holland. I've been living here for over 20 years now, and it's a pretty liberal country, you know. And like I said to India, I mean, there's all this dispute about trans people not being allowed to use the same dressing rooms in Top Man and all this bollocks. Over in this country, they don't have mixed.
Yeah.
They don't have separate dressing rooms in shops. It's just a dressing room. You know.
It's so stupid. It's like, and also as well, gender and sex are different things. I mean, gender and different thing. And at the end of the day, I do think it's anyone's right over their personal autonomy to, you know, refer to themselves in any fucking way that they want to. I don't think that's anyone else's business. And there are people that, you know, pre-transition need to sort of see what it's like to live as the other gender. That's decades, and why now it's a major point of contention is a bit of a shame. Like, I know there's some stuff with the sports and stuff, like I don't know enough about that to delve into it. I can understand maybe there's like certain sports that might be difficult with certain like the certain time after a transition or something like that. Maybe there isn't, but it's sort of like, why does everyone jump on that? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, that's something that we worked out, and it was something that was worked out for a long period of time anyway in sports. Like, only now has become kind of a big point of contention. And the thing about the dressing room and the women and the toilets, where it was like saying like, oh, but predators will use the, you know, the guise of being trans to go in there.
I know.
It's like, they'll do that anyway. I mean, it's like, that's so fucking stupid. If a guy wants to go and sexually assault a woman in a toilet, like they're gonna do that without
dressing up as a woman.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But there you go. They got all these right wingers out there, I suppose. You know, all these do-gooders fighting for the cause.
I know. Yeah,
it's not a cause worth fighting for, really, is it?
No. That's a shame. There's a major sort of the front of the new. It's like the big contentious issue, I suppose, at the minute. Which again, I was like, where the fuck has this come from? Like, why do all of a sudden people care if trans people use a fucking toilet? I don't know. The shit people fucking in their spare time.
Yeah. It's like playing with a blue yo-yo or a yellow yo-yo. Well, my fucking yellow yo-yo is better than your blue one.
Exactly.
Why? It's got a longer string. No, fuck you, fuck off.
Exactly.
All right, then, mate. I'm gonna let you go.
Yep. Cheers, mate.
After we've chatted ourselves to death.
Perfect.
And good luck with your new album. Good luck with your old album, actually. But your first album, I should say, not your old album.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
And good luck with your tour coming up. Like I said, I'll post your socials and shit. And just generally good luck. We'll see you over here anyway.
Wicked. Cheers, man. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, mate. Bye.